Okay, let's talk about, by the way, your thoughts on the conversation I had initially with Tasneem Fredericks. You certainly can comment in the best way. Voice notes are like number one, okay? 061 766 0355. And then the conversation I had with the leader of the Action SA, Herman Mashaba. Also, you can comment on that, 061 766 0355. Or you can also post comments on the back of any of the Salam Media social media posts, and particularly if you follow us on YouTube, subscribe to YouTube, and you can post comments there as well. Anyway, let's talk about 27.4 regarding investments, regarding Sharia, and how all that, regarding Zakah, and how that all comes together. My guest is the business development manager at 27.4, Mas'ud Harneker. We chatted a couple of weeks back. We do it again today. Mas'ud, appreciate your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Ashraf. Thank you for having me on your show again.
Thank you. Right, let's talk about, I mean, you have a particular slant to today's conversation, which is this important pillar of Islam, Zakah, right? And how that links to the type of investment products that you guys at 27.4 are involved in. So, first up, what sort of advice can you give people when they, at this time of the year, and it's not compulsory this time of the year, but most people would want to distribute their Zakah in Ramadan for multiple benefit reasons, right?
Yeah, sure. So, Ashraf, paying your zakah is fundamentally important to every Muslim, right? It's the third pillar of Islam. And as a Muslim, you'd obviously want to maximize on that gift of having the ability to cleanse your wealth. And I think increasing your zakat contributions over time would require you to make some very smart investment choices. So, by investing in a Sharia-compliant fund, it has two main benefits. The first, I think, obvious benefit is that by being invested in the market over time, your assets would increase, and thereby your zakatable wealth will also increase with that. And this will allow you to increase your contributions to the less fortunate over time. But also, secondly, very important, Ashraf, is that by virtue of being invested in a Sharia-compliant fund, all non-permissible income within the fund gets stripped out, that gets pulled together, and those funds are distributed to various charitable endeavors. So that also plays a very important role in empowering the less fortunate. So I think being in the month of Ramadan, as you said, it's an auspicious month. It gives us opportunity to reflect, right? But not only on spiritual matters, but also reflecting on our own personal finances. Are we investing our hard-earned income in an ethical manner, in a socially responsible manner? I think, Ashraf, that's very important questions we need to ask ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And just then to reflect on the zakah, I mean, just it's not maybe part of our brief, but would you encourage investors through 27.4 to pay off zakat as one lump sum annually, or maybe in 12-month, once a month increments?
Yeah. So generally speaking, most people do it during the month of Ramadan, where they work out their total assets at the beginning of the month, and 2.5% of that would go to the less fortunate. And also, just quickly, so paying your zakah during the month of Ramadan is great, but also I think, we should try and get that spirit and transcend beyond the month of Ramadan, and throughout the year make a concerted effort to help those in need and do our small part in community upliftment.
What I have noticed is certainly in the last decade or so that the concept of Islamic banking as an alternative is gaining currency, not just in South Africa, but I think globally, and not just amongst Muslims, but others who are drawn to the ethical decisions that goes into the investments around Islamic products. Tell me about that.
Yeah, sure. Indeed, 100% correct, Ashraf. I think there's been a massive demand, not only in Islamic investing, but also in environmental, social, and governance investing as well. And I think that is largely due to investors' requirement to align the investment portfolios with their core values. So I'll give you an example. So Refinitiv, who is a UK-based firm, they're a global provider of financial market data, and they surveyed over 1,600 financial institutions globally. And the forecast is that total Islamic finance assets is expected to grow to $5.9 trillion by 2026. And this would include your Islamic banking, Islamic funds, Islamic bonds, etc. But interestingly, if you think back to 2015, 2016, that number stood at $2 trillion. So in the space of a decade, that number has actually tripled. So talking to a little bit about the convergence between Islamic investing and ESG investing, which is environmental, social, and governance investing, there's a clear convergence. Even though the approaches might differ, they seem to attack the same goal. And with Islamic investing, it's very much principle driven. So if you look at the portfolio construction of both, Islamic investing, as I mentioned, it's very much Sharia compliant, so it's principle driven. With ESG investing, it's looking at the long-term risk reduction of general risk to society, and it's based on a very broad range of impact metrics, but they both seem to target the same goal of promoting social welfare, of preventing harm to society through sustainable growth. And what we mean by sustainable growth, Ashraf, is that if you look at ESG-based screening, for example, are the companies that you're investing in, are they taking environmental considerations into account, like climate change? Are they being active owners? Are they being proactive in taking the necessary steps to mitigate against the risk that their industry have on the environment? Are they doing carbon disclosures, for example? From a social aspect, are the companies you're investing in being good corporate citizens? Is there fair and equitable payment to employees? Things from a governance perspective, you start looking at the directors of the companies. Are they fit and proper to do their role? Do they have the necessary expertise? So these are just some of the examples of the questions that would come out of ESG-based screening. And these are the questions that the investment teams would have to do a deep dive into.
Okay, my eye is drawn to a particular Sharia compliant investment called Sukuk Agrarius. I hope I've got the pronunciation right, on the JSE. A year ago. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So Agrarius, as you mentioned, is a sukuk. So in other words, it's an Islamic bond. It's the first of its kind. So it's a sustainably linked sukuk listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's a 10 billion rand note program, and the proceeds are invested in the agricultural value chain, and we're focusing on sustainable and green projects. So the main aim of Agrarius, Ashraf, is to transform the agricultural sector by basically mobilizing pools of capital and directing them towards investments that meet both the sustainability criteria but also the investor return targets. And the product has been very well received by the market and can easily be traded. And we're investing not only in one aspect of the agricultural sector, we're investing in a diverse range within the sector, from manufacturing to processing to packaging and distribution. And by diversifying, we're able to have a very robust portfolio. And we also have the ability to meet the maturity profile of the cash flow requirements of the note. So obviously, time permitting, we can't go into much detail, but if listeners want to know a lot more about Agrarius or even how to access the product, they're welcome to contact us, and we will engage with them to give them more information.
Okay, great. Perhaps direct us to your website address. I can direct them to as a starting point.
Yeah, so our website is 274.com. Alternatively, you can contact us via email at info@274.com or call us directly on 0800 000 274.
Okay, got that. There's just to end with, there's a range of Sharia compliant products that you people manage, right? Let's say in a minute, can you just run through some of them?
Sure. So we've got a very comprehensive range of product offering, and it caters for every investment objective or risk profile. So we've got a very diverse range, and it's ideal for long-term wealth creation. So for example, if a client is looking or is very short-term focused, or that's the requirement, we've got the 274 Sharia Income Fund, which focuses on Sharia-compliant fixed income instruments, both locally and globally. If an investor is looking more medium term, we've got the 274 Sharia Balance Fund and the 274 Sharia Stable Fund. Those are both multi-asset class portfolios, and they provide a level of diversification by combining Sharia compliant equities, fixed income instruments and commodities and the like, both locally and globally. Then investors with a longer term focus, we've got also the 274 Sharia Active Equity Fund, and that focuses on Sharia compliant South African listed shares. And these funds can be selected as sort of in every type of product offering that we have. So if you are looking to invest through discretionary savings or saving for retirement, tax-free savings, or even endowments, we've got a fund that would cater for every need or requirement that you may have.
Okay, all that is required for the audience is to go 274.com, right? Yeah, website.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely,
Correct.
and then you'll find all the links that you need. Appreciate your time, Mas'ud. I'm sure we'll chat hopefully before the end of Ramadan once more, inshallah.
Thank you. Take care. All the best, Ashraf.
Inshallah. There we are. Mas'ud Harneker, who's the business development manager at 274. Give them a shout. 274 spelled, number 27 and then FOUR. 274, doing some great work. I'll tell you what, I've always been drawn to this feature, my first Ramadan, where we speak to people who we find out how they've embraced in this case, but experienced their very first Ramadan, whether that was this year or whether that is like 10, 15, 20 years ago. My next guest is Muallima Munira Pere Kamoyo. Looking forward to chatting to her.